It's Corso and Catone. Brought to you by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Now for the real deal New England feel. Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm Corso. There's Catone. He's here. Joe's with us in the booth. You are watching us on YouTube, listening on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, 790 The Score. Anywhere you podcast, you're going to catch us. And make sure when you get on there, you subscribe, give us that thumbs up, and check out our shorts on YouTube. Got a few short little clips up there that are pretty interesting, pretty entertaining. So those are always being put up. So pay attention to those as well. Listen, email us in our mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com, and give us a call and heated hotline, 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S. Leave us a message 24/7. Joe will pick one. Let it be yours. Let us know your thoughts on everything. You know, we want to hear all about everybody's thought, right?
Yeah.
So got a good one. Weekly Rewind. Hey, Josh Mcdaniels is back. Welcome back again. McDaniels, he's back again. So
that's his third time.
His third time, right? That's why welcome back again. So and then we'll talk about the defensive coordinator as well. So stick around for that. Of course, Catone's comments. You never want to miss that. Who the hell knows what he's going to come up with today? And B's and C's, got a lot to talk about in that. We'll discuss. And we're going to hear from one of you in Heated Hotline. It's been gone for a while. I think Joe's been piling these things up. So we're going to start hearing from some of you. Gentlemen.
Hey.
How are we feeling this week?
Well, that's probably not the question we should be answering. Feeling not so good, but hey, yeah, we're fighting through.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. Joe's fighting through, Mark.
Joe, I don't know what that means, and I don't want to know what that means, Chris.
Well, there's a few more things the Patriots are fighting through, and that's picking out new coaches and getting things organized and in line, and we need to discuss it, and we're going to do it in Weekly Rewind right now. Going back through the week, about a Weekly Rewind. Okay, third stint in New England. The Patriots have selected an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator. We'll talk about Darrell Williams as well. And it seems like maybe this was already decided a while ago. I don't know. We'll talk about that. But Josh McDaniels is back. Mark is, well, first of all, this the right hire?
I think it is,
estimation?
Yeah. Yes, I do think it's the right hire, Chris, because listen, I know everyone keeps saying, well, it's a throwback. It's a throwback. You're going back to the old Belichick days. And, this isn't a modern offense. You're bringing back. But I don't agree with that at all, Chris. I mean, listen, his offenses, when he was here, were always top 10. I understand he had Brady. But I like it, Chris. You need somebody that's experienced, that's going to be able to teach May. And when we get into this more, I'll explain to you what I mean by that. I like the hire, Chris. I think he was the best candidate available for what we need at this point in time with May, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm back and forth on this. Okay, because I agree with things you're saying. I really wanted them to talk to a Rams guy or a Detroit guy.
I get it.
And it pisses me off. What pisses me off about all this, of course, you know me, I have to be pissed off about something.
Oh, you're just a miserable SOB, for crying out loud.
And in being an miserable SOB, I at least talk to one of them. It's just the same stuff with them.
Well, they did talk to the guy from Minnesota, right? Who came from that tree, technically that McVay tree, because that's where O'Connell came from, right? What was he? He was the assistant quarterback's coach. He did a lot of work, they believe, with Donald. Yeah. So they did interview him.
Yeah.
But they didn't interview anybody from the Rams themselves.
Would have liked to see Ragone. Would have liked to see Kaylee interviewed. And that's the one thing. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time. We got a lot to get to, but you nobody was hiring Josh McDaniel. Okay. So, like,
Yep.
you put him on the shelf for a bit and wait, do some interviews, do some diligence here. No,
Could've.
you don't want to talk to anybody else. And it just seems to be a theme with this team. And, you know, do you think that he was, I mean, I was going to ask about, you think it's a Kraft guy a little further, but look, it fits in here. I mean, is this decided before Vrabel even was decided that this is going to be the next guy by the Krafts?
I think if Mayo stayed here, yes. I think Kraft would have told Wolf that we want Gerard here.
I mean, why not do it last year?
McDaniels here. I don't know. They didn't do it. But Vrabel, no. I think with Vrabel, it may have been, hey, you know, we'd love to see Josh come back. And Vrabel must have said, well, I'll check him out. And if he passes my test, if he passes the test here, I'll probably, maybe I'll hire him. Let me see first what I think of him. If he doesn't fit what I'm looking for, then no. Because I do think, Chris, it's his decision. I don't think he took this job with Kraft telling him, you got to hire this person, you got to hire that person. He could have picked any job he wanted, Chris. I don't think he would have taken the job. If that's how it was presented to him, this is who we're hiring as OC. I don't think he would have taken the job. I'm going to be honest with you, Chris.
Your question, Chris.
I really don't.
Nobody was hiring him. Was it because they were looking at him as an OC or a head coach?
No.
Neither. Okay.
Like, in other words, here's the question then, Mark. If Vrabel takes the Chicago job, is Josh McDaniels his OC?
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know.
That lends itself. So, I mean,
I am gonna say this, Chris. So Vrabel is extremely friendly with Billy O'Brien. If Billy O'Brien took the original job he was supposed to take before Boston College reached out to him, he was going to be the offensive coordinator with Ohio State. If Billy O'Brien was still at went to Ohio State as OC, he would be the OC right now with the New England Patriots because because him and Vrabel are that close because Vrabel was on his staff with the Texans. And McDaniels is very friendly with O'Brien. So maybe he would have given McDaniels a shot to work with Caleb Williams as well. I mean, I think people are just assuming, he wouldn't have hired him in Chicago. Well, you know, and listen, I just got to say this because I know everybody wants somebody from Detroit, somebody from San Fran. Well, guess what? Now it's coming out that Ben Johnson lost the Raider job Saturday night when Tom Brady watched his play calling and watched what he did and how he panicked. And he supposedly Brady had some real reservations and backed off that hire a little bit and was like, well, let's cool the jets on this guy for a minute. And then he ended up taking the Chicago job. So I think sometimes we get caught up with that new shiny penny because that's the latest thing. But sometimes, you know, the old beat up one with the experience sometimes is the way to go. And I think people sometimes get caught up in the new best thing. But after what Brady watched, he didn't want Ben Johnson. And now league executives around the league, Chris, are saying he's going to be Josh McDaniels 2.0. All he is an OC. He's never going to be able to run an organization. So I'm interested to see what he does in Chicago.
Well, I'll tell you this: if Brady, and I don't want to get too much into Ben Johnson, but if Brady,
McDaniels was probably hired, Chris. That's all I'm saying.
Well, if anybody in Vegas, was basing the decision on that one moment, that's why they're the Raiders. That's why they suck. Okay, because that's absurd to me. And if Tom Brady, I'd be shocked if that's a true story. Shocked that if he's basing.
Well, I guess Brady, Chris, was calling out the plays, was writing down plays in the booth before they happened, and they actually happened. He was anticipating what Johnson was going to run based on the situation, and he was like, you know what, this guy isn't what I thought he was. That's what's coming out now. Now, whether that's true or not, I have no goddamn idea.
Well, screw the Raiders. We don't like them anyway.
No, I don't care about the Raiders. I'm just saying. I don't care about the Raiders.
So listen, I mean, two things are true. Like, I guess we don't want to get too down the road and focus so much on, well, whose choice was it? Other than the fact that, I mean, I think Vrabel's an alpha enough to say, this guy's not working out for me. He's out, you know? But no, I think McDaniels is good. So Mark, okay.
So
From
Chris,
the
let me
football,
ask you a question. You've coached offense, you've coached defense.
yeah.
So everyone gives Van Pelt credit for developing May. Okay, he developed them, but
I don't know if I do, but yeah.
I think McDaniels is going to be able to sit him down, Chris, and say to him, "Okay, it's the third quarter. They've made this adjustment. What do you see? What do you do? What do we do here? Tell me what we're going to do here." Like, I think he'll go through that film study with him and teach him things that he may not learn, Chris, with these young guys.
Yeah.
Okay?
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Because he learned how to do it with Brady, with Belichick. And so, like it or not, he's going to teach May things that he probably wouldn't have learned from these other guys, Chris. Now, offensive scheme-wise, what's he going to run? That's a question we can debate. What is he going to run? We don't know.
Well, I will say this, okay? Talking about to talk about the first part of it. Yeah, his experience is invaluable. I mean, what he's seen, what he's done, and he was there from the beginning. I mean, he definitely had a part of Brady's rise. I mean, he took part in that as to what Brady is and how he brought him along and developed them and those kinds of things. So, give him credit. I mean, give him credit for Mac Jones for that 1 year. And to be honest with you, I'll even give him credit, even though it was atrocious, a little bit for the Cam Newton year, simply because that dude couldn't even throw a football. Like, he only had 8 touchdowns. I get it, but to have any semblance of an offense that year, anything, was a good job. And then you throw in Castle, you throw in Garoppolo, people like that. So, no, I think he's definitely a quarterback whisperer in that sense with young guys. I think he's going to be fine situationally, all of that. The only thing I talk about and think about is the system that he runs is complicated. Okay, and we get later on when we get into we're going to hear from some of the things he said about May.
Chris, I think he'll simplify that. I think it was complicated because of what Tom had learned. And I think that was tailored to what Tom wanted to run as Tom got older and more experienced. But I don't think I don't think he's going to run that system here. Some of it he will, but it's not going to be what he was running with Brady, Chris. I honestly don't think it's going to be.
He spent a long time in the last year looking at college programs, spent some time with some different colleges and things like that. But the communication is so this type of offense, if he's running any semblance of his own, the communication's important. If we'll get the quarterback in the next segment, but talking about wide receivers, offensive line, especially wide receivers, it's complicated. They've destroyed. I mean, there are young wide receivers that have just been chewed up and spit out with this system, and now you have pretty much a whole room of inexperienced receivers with attitude on top of it. So I'm curious to see what version of his system he's going to bring in here, because it's complicated if it's the same one.
And Chris, listen, here's just my last point, and I'll let you finish this segment out. Vrabel, Chris, if you look around what he's bringing in, he knows what this team needs. Okay, he knows the talent that was on it, what has to be brought in. He saw the horror show that coaching staff was last year. He brings in Josh McDaniels, experience. He brings in the DC, experience. Special teams, got some experience. He just brought in a running backs coach he had in Tennessee, extensive experience. All these guys are professional coaches with experience, Chris. Listen, he learned from his mistake in Tennessee. He had Matt LaFleur, great. He was here a year or two, leaves. Now you're chasing for another OC. Arthur Smith gets promoted. Okay, he's there for a couple of years, had some success. Boom, he's gone. Now you're chasing for another OC. Now he promotes Todd Downing. Downing doesn't do well. How many times can you go to the well? He's let go. Tim Kelly takes over for him. He's no good. He's let go. So it's only so many times you can go that, the next rising star, young shiny penny, and get success with that. He went with a professional who was one of the most respected OCs in this league. I get that he's not the young, bright, genius that all these people are looking for now. But Vrabel's building a professional staff with experience, and that's what this team needs after the disaster that they had last year, Chris. So I think he knows what he's doing.
All right. So the adults are now in the room for sure. And when we come back to the other side, we're going to talk more about some of the plays he may want. This portion of Weekly Rewind was presented by the Pats Nation, Sundays, 8 a.m. Eastern. Tune in tomorrow. We're going to have a lot more detail on this stuff, a lot more football talk, a lot more technical stuff to talk about this hire and everything else they have coming up. So make sure you're tuning in 8 a.m. Eastern for the Pats Nation. When we come back, going to continue on Mcdaniels, talk a little bit about his relationship with Drake May, what he had to say about it, what kind of players does he want, and just really quick on the defensive coordinator, all that and more. Hey, no flipping.
Sundays are for football, and here in New England, that means it's the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone.
You have the worst wide receiver room in the National Football League.
This is why the Patriots need us in the draft room. Let's see what the Pats Nation thinks about that, Mark.
Starting June 30th, Sundays, 8 to 9 a.m. on 790 The Score.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. All right, Mark, staying on this, talking about McDaniels. Okay, so the adults are in the room, like we talked about. Okay, you can't get more experience than he's got. You can't be more professional than he is, situationally in every other way, is Josh McDaniel. So the upgrade is huge. Now, as it relates to Drake May, and how he's going to be with him, because, hey, okay, now you got a second-year quarterback coming in. He's now going to be in a different system, okay? And, second system now in his young career. Mm-hmm. I think he can handle it. But how's Josh McDaniel going to actually approach Drake May? And long while back, he was on the Julian Edelman podcast there that he's got. I enjoy listening to that too.
I do. He
was on there, and this came up about Drake May, and this is what he had to say. Joe,
being a quarterback, what's that process like? Now, who also makes that decision? Is it the head coach? Is the offensive coordinator? Is it the quarterback coach, or is it everyone's doing it their own? What's this process?
I think you have to have a plan, and that obviously starts from the head coach, his perspective, and you have to, be able to agree on how you're going to kind of unveil that thing to the player. And I at the end of the day, I think you got to take the player where he's at, when he comes in, whether that was Castle or Garoppolo or Stidham or Brissett or Mack, Aiden O'Connell. Like, you got to take the player where he's at. They're all figure out, all right, what do they know? And what am I going to try to, push forward to get him to progress the quickest? Yeah. I think I can get this and this done in OTAs. Okay, great. Cadence, play calls, footwork. All right, good. Really good feel for where's the player at. Yeah. Can't just keep throwing stuff at him. I always talk about it. They have a bucket. You guys all had a bucket, and yours was a big bucket at the end. Like, you could handle whatever we gave you. Well, when you take a young quarterback, it's more like a cup.
So buckets, Mark, buckets we're talking about. So listen, I like hearing that, because this was long before. This may have been a training camp or just after, whatever. It was during that time of him talking about this. So this isn't like he got hired now, and now he's got to be in front of people and got to tell everybody what they want to hear. He wasn't paid by anybody back then, and that was his idea. So the fear that we just talked about, well, the system, is it too complicated, about the buckets and bringing them along slowly and only giving them, what he can handle. That sounds awfully familiar to what Vrabel said coming in his press conference, talking about Drake May, in that, hey, we're going to tailor the offense to him. We're going to do what he can do. We're not going to ask him to do things they can't do, all the players. So they seem to be on the same page there, and maybe that's what the selling point to Vrabel in that interview, where maybe Vrabel had a rubber stamp Kraft's choice, so two things can be true.
Yeah. Listen, I don't think he rubber stamped Kraft's choice. I think he said, I'll interview him. And if he impresses me, I'll hire him. But if he don't impress me, I'm not hiring him. And I think Josh probably went in there with a plan on how he would develop a young quarterback. And he was probably impressed with that plan. Listen, Chris, in that interview with Edelman, the one person he mentions that sticks out to me is Matt Castle. Okay. When Brady goes down in 2008 in the first game, he makes Castle, who basically hadn't been a starter. He didn't even start at USC. He hadn't started a game since high school. He takes him and makes him a borderline Pro Bowler. He goes to Kansas City the next year and becomes a Pro Bowler. So when you think about what he did with Castle, right? And so
he was driving a Ferrari, though, too.
No, he was.
You're talking about a team that came off an 18-1 season.
No, I understand that, Chris. But Castle was doing things, Chris. It don't matter if you have a Ferrari. They had to spoon feed him stuff to get him ready. Like he was talking about the cup, right? The bowl, the cup. He was probably starting with a baby cup, Castle, considering the last time he was a full-time starter, right? It was, you know what I mean?
Well, he's got a lot more to work with now. I mean, this kid May has got the tool. See, listen, I'm happy with the hire from that sense of I just want a modern friggin' offense. I want a modern offense, Mark. I want to get the ball to receivers. I want aces. I want X receivers. I'm sick of the dink and dunk crap. I'm sick of the 12 personnel. I want a friggin' offense that works in the NFL. And I think you've been bitching about that.
All right, so you don't think McDaniels' offense will work in the NFL in 2025?
I don't know.
All right.
The same version?
Okay.
The same version of what we saw?
No, it won't. No, I get it. I get what you're saying. I'm gonna address this during Catone's comment. So I'm gonna. What
about in Vegas? Didn't work there.
Well, yeah.
Didn't work in Denver.
No, I don't think that. I think it did work, Chris. I think he didn't work as a head coach there.
Yeah.
I think it's two different things.
He
wasn't just concentrating on play calling and developing quarterbacks, Chris. You're the head coach.
I just want to know.
I
just want to know that he's amenable to change. I want to know that he's able to say, "Hey, you know what? I've learned something watching today's NFL."
Yeah. All right.
What, you're going to be able to answer? You're going to be able to answer that question in the next segment?
No, I'm not going to answer it, but somebody's going to answer it for us. Somebody more qualified than you and me is going to answer that in the next segment.
First of all, there's no one more qualified than me.
Well, if I play a clip from your buddy that you drool when he comes on, Belichick, you drool and foam at the mouth.
Look, okay. Yeah, I'm not unhappy with this hire. I mean, honestly, if he does what he did before, I mean, look, he's always had top offenses in the league. It was only 1 year that he was out of the top 5, top 10.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
No, and I don't like the prejudice about Brady either. I don't like that people hold it against him. Either.
Yeah,
give the man some credit. I know I sound like I'm all over the place, but we'll see. So, players now, Mark.
Listen, all I'm going to say is this.
Let's hope that's not all you're going to say.
I understand it was one game.
Yeah.
No one's a bigger proponent of Ben Johnson than me because I wanted him. And I think he's going to do great things with that Chicago offense because they got weapons. However, when it was money time, I'll use your line. He wet himself on Saturday. He peed down his leg. He did. He absolutely did. As a play caller, he wet himself on Saturday.
I understand that. I got that. No, but listen. Let me push back a little bit on that, okay?
You can push back all you want.
Well, I'm going to push back because what I saw when I watched that game, okay, was the first quarter of a good play calling, moving the ball, scoring points. Then what I saw is a freaking quarterback wet down his leg.
He did.
And then I saw an offensive.
Then he panicked. There's an OC. Then he panicked. There's an OC.
Right.
Instead of staying what got you there all year.
The mistake he made was not kicking back gears and going to something. Run the damn ball more. Use Gibbs. use Montgomery. That's the mistake I think he made. But Jerry, but he's sitting there faced with Goff.
He's running trick plays.
Right.
He's,
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you there. There's things he got to prove. But to all of a sudden, for people out there to be like, oh, that's it. Ben Johnson's he's no good now. That's nonsense.
No. I'm not saying he's not good, but I'm saying, Chris, that's why they listen. The other thing I'll say about, and the more I have thought about this, Chris, is,
and I don't know how he's going to be as a head coach. I don't. Nobody does.
No, but at least he's got weapons in Chicago, Chris. So
yeah.
It'll help him be more successful, perhaps. He was coming here with nothing but a quarterback.
I don't buy the Vegas report. Now, for 1 second, do I buy that they didn't want him? That's not.
I don't know. They claimed that more Brady pushed on him and thought and spoke with him and watched some of the stuff he did that Brady kind of cooled on him. I don't know how true it is.
Baloney. That's nonsense. Ben Johnson wanted to go to a place that had a quarterback. Yeah. And Vegas is.
No, they don't have quarterback.
Nothing,
no, they have nothing.
So, okay. Let's move on because we got a break soon, and I want to talk about the defense a little bit. But I also wanted to quickly and tomorrow on the Pats Nation, tune in because we're going to talk more free agency. But just real quick about the players. Who do you think fits? I mean, there's some free agents, there's some trade. Cooper Kupp's out there, Diggs is out there, Hill can be had in a trade, AJ Brown could be had in a trade, T. Higgins. Metcalf.
Well, we don't know. We don't know if AJ Brown could be had in a trade.
He was reading a book on the sideline.
Listen, that was for mental wellness.
Well, why does he need mental wellness in that situation? Because of why? Because why? Because he's pissed and he's not happy.
We don't know if he wants a trade.
Well, I can tell you this right now. If they lose to Washington this week,
you think he's asking for a trade?
He's out of there. He's never going to see the ball.
So, all right. So I would put A.J. Brown at the top of the list if you're thinking about potential people you could pry out of someplace for a trade. He would be number one on my list. Tyreek Hill, Chris, he's still explosive. But
give me a three quick because we got to go.
My top three would be A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp, who if he becomes a free agent, you better throw everything at him but the kitchen sink to bring him here. Because speaking of McDaniels' system, he would be perfect in it if we run a variation of that system. I'd say Brown, Kupp, and the guy I think that can be had is DK Metcalf because this is the last year of his contract coming up. They're going to have to pay Smith-Njigba. They're not going to pay both of them. I think if they get a package from Metcalf, I think they let him go.
So Brown, Kupp, and
Metcalf, and then if Hill is out there, I'm taking Higgins off the board just because I think Cincinnati's going to keep him.
Okay, then if Higgins is coming off the board, I got A.J. Brown number 1. I got Hill 2, and I'll go with Kupp 3. I'll go with you in the Kupp thing.
Yeah, I'm just thinking Hill, Chris. I just don't know if Vrabel will want to deal with somebody like him.
Okay, so now defensive side of the ball, they hired Terrell Williams. It's not as flashy, not as much press on this, but as a DC, you got an issue with the fact that I know you asked me this about the defensive line coach becoming a DC again.
Yes, I did. I did have an issue with that, and as I looked at his resume, Chris, he really doesn't have any back end experience with linebackers and safeties and corners. But the more I listened to him, and they asked him what he looks for in a player, and he talked about someone that plays violent and explosive. He was describing a player, Chris, that maybe you could say it's a little bit Keon White. Maybe a little bit of Bondmore, but we don't have a guy like that on the roster.
Well,
what he was describing. You really don't.
Look, I think he could make a lot out of Keon White.
No, I mentioned White and I mentioned Bondmore.
Yeah.
Right? And the other thing that he will bring with him, Chris, what I do like is his system, because it's Vrabel's system, Chris, he's going to require his linebackers to play in space, which means that's not Giovanni Tavai. That's not Bentley. Those guys will not fit in his system.
Right. Well, I like the fact that he's got experience around the league. I like the fact I loved Detroit's D front. I know other people say they weren't that great. No. I like that defensive front. When he was in Tennessee, he was made the assistant coach. Now that's for a reason. So when you're the assistant head coach, and Chris, they say he was very influential
in making that kid Simmons an All-Pro.
Right. So
The D lineman.
The D lineman, yes, a lot of success there. What I'm interested to see is what is he going to do on the back end? What's he going to do with the secondary? Is he going to be able to identify safeties and corners? And can he get box safety? Can he look at inside linebackers, the Fred Warners of the world? Is this what he can do as a defensive lineman? Typically, D coordinators come from linebacker coaches and defensive back coaches. So let's see how this works. Vrabel will have a lot in it. So listen, tune into the Pats Nation more tomorrow because we're going to have a lot more detail on this, a lot more
Chris,
discussion about free agents.
Do you like the fact that we kept the special teams coordinator?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And I spoke to him for a long time at that walkthrough. Knowledgeable guy, understands, was in LA, so he gets it. He's not a New England guy. So I'm okay with that because I thought the special teams was good. But this weekly rewind was presented by Corso Law Group, corsolawgroup.com. Hey, I want to get the break because, he's telling me I'm going to learn something from this Catone's comments that's coming up next.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Call or go online to corsolawgroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help.
Time for Catone's
Okay, so first, before I get to what I want Chris to listen to, I have to, there's approximately 2.5, 3 weeks left to baseball. Spring training will begin for most teams. And yet, the Red Sox still have not made any more moves. But even though they're going to spend, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Again, they made all those crazy comments. Yeah, they brought in the guy from Chicago via trade, but he's on a cheap deal right now. They didn't spend money to bring him in. They bring in Walker Buehler, the free agent from the Dodgers, who, he had a real good World Series, 1-year deal, 20-something million. You're not tying up money. They brought in another pitcher on a cheap deal. They still haven't spent money. All we heard about is, they're in on Anthony Santander. Well, guess what? He ended up in Toronto. Oh, they're in on Bregman. They're in on Alonso. They're in on Arenado. None of these guys are here. None of these guys are here. Training camp is starting. Pitchers and catchers are going to be reporting before 2 weeks. I think camp starts in 3. So, listen, Red Sox fans, they fed you a crock of BS, and I'm going to give Chris credit because Chris said when this was going on in November with Soto, early December when he signed, Chris said, listen, don't believe a word they're telling you. They're never signing Soto. They're never spending that kind of money. When it comes to this current Red Sox regime, they don't want to spend money, and they don't want to deal with terms of lengths of contract. That's always the breaking point. Lengths of contract and money. They don't want to give guys 6 and 7 year deals. They don't want to tie the money up for that long. They want these 2-3 year deals. Get out of the contract. Get a deal if they can. They don't want to spend, and they don't want long-term deals. You know what I'm going to do for the Red Sox? Because obviously they must not have any money. I'm going to go run a bake sale on Lansdowne Street. I'm gonna sell lemonade. I'm gonna set up a lemonade stand. I'm gonna bake brownies. I'm gonna have people bake cakes. I'm gonna have a lemonade sale and a bake sale to try to get the Red Sox some money, so John Henry can go get some players. Maybe that's what they need to do, because I don't seem to understand why, with all of the money he's got, that he can't spend money to make this organization a contender again. And now I hear his group, that Fenway group, is interested in buying the Celtics. Oh, dear God, please. The guy that's the assistant, one of the minority owners now, better step up and buy the team, because we can't afford to have the John Henry group buy the Red Sox as well. That will be a complete catastrophe. But I had to say this to Red Sox fans. You got your hopes up again. You bought into the BS and the nonsense. And once again, They haven't delivered. If you honestly think they're going to bring in Pete Alonso or Alex Bregman before spring training, you're sadly mistaken, because it's not going to happen. And then they'll have an excuse when it's over why they didn't do it. But they're not going to do it. And Chris was right about that. So I'll give Chris credit for that. Now,
when he gives me credit, Joe,
Yeah.
I get nervous because I know that there's a criticism coming.
well,
to
there is.
offset it.
That's next. That's next. Now, real quick. So the local media here is driving me absolutely crazy with this. Well, it was Bob Kraft's choice. This was a done deal back in October. He knew he was bringing him back. Vrabel didn't have any say. Listen, Vrabel had a say in bringing back Josh McDaniels. He interviewed him. Whatever he told him, he sold him. This wasn't a done deal when he went into the room with Vrabel. This was Vrabel's final decision. Adam Schefter this morning tweets out the final word on Josh McDaniels. That was absolutely Mike Vrabel's decision. Bob Kraft didn't force him down his throat. No, he might suggest, I'd love to see Josh come back. He interviewed him, but that was his decision. If he was not comfortable with what he heard, he was not hiring Josh McDaniels. And then everyone, he's going to bring back the Brady offense. It's antiquated. It's old. It's not new. It's not 2025. It's 2025. We need to move on from that. Listen, first of all, that offense was good enough to win you 6 Super Bowls. I know you had the greatest player to ever play the game running it. However, that's not what he's necessarily going to do. I think people are painting McDaniels in a box, and I think that's all he can do. I'm going to play a clip. I'm going to cue up a clip from Scott Zolak, and I want Chris to listen to this very closely, because Zolak pretty much guarantees Josh isn't going to do this, which means he's already talked to him, because they obviously he's friendly with him, so he already had this conversation with him. Didn't say, I talked to Josh. In this clip, he says, I guarantee you he's not going to force that down May's throat. And I'm just going to cue this up and play this for you real quickly.
Joe, he's queuing it up.
Yes.
Not on.
Because I'm queuing it up. I'm not too good. Joe, I got to figure out how to use it. Wait, you got to give me a second.
Well, while he's queuing that up, during when you have your bake sale, right?
He's not going to force
Oh,
him.
here we go.
This for a fact, he will not force him to run the Brady offense. That was Tom's offense. They took that thing to another level. Josh is smart. He understands the league. Christ, I remember last year during the interview process, he talks to all these guys getting interviewed. Like, offensive coordinators and play callers in the league talk as much as head coaches talk within the league. Like, that's how you study tape. If Josh feels that Drake is better off, terminology-wise, running a West Coast style offense, Josh will morph to that. That's how good he is. He's going to be able to advance things with Drake. Once Drake gets certain concepts down, it's like, what are you going to do next? What are we going to anticipate? What are we seeing as a defense? I just wondered last year, and I know AVP did a good job with Drake getting him week to week. How much did he sit down? How much did he talk coverage? How much did he talk about what do you anticipate second quarter, third quarter? If we do this, they're going to do this. And it's just that multitude of everything Josh has been through. And I know he had some rough spots. I know he wasn't great in St. Louis. It didn't work out with the Raiders. Denver was great at the beginning, then it hit a flat tire. He's a play caller. He's not a head coach. He's a really, really freaking good offensive coordinator. He's the most qualified guy that was out there, and they got him.
Okay, so I just had to play that for Christopher because he's been dogging this pick. So Chris is in love. Chris is in love with the shiny pennies out there. So I'm going to end Catone's comments with that clip.
Yeah, I'm glad because
Zolak.
Listen, First of all, I'm sorry. How many times did this guy mention Ben Johnson, Joe?
No, as head coach, not as I'm talking right now about OC.
Okay, how many times did you talk about over and over and over? We need a Ram situation. We need one of those. All you kept saying was how we need
Chris,
that type of
but
offense.
You do, but you need somebody who actually called plays. None of those guys call plays.
That I'll give you.
At least Ben Johnson called plays.
I'm going to give you that. Absolutely.
Ben Johnson called the plays. I'm okay with that.
And that's why you said that last week we talked about that. One of the points about having these assistants is they never call plays. McDaniels is one of the best play callers. Honestly, one of the best play callers I've seen, okay, over the last 10 years or so. He is. So, yeah, that experience. And I'm not unhappy with this. I'm not unhappy with Josh McDaniels. I'm simply saying for you've been bitching and complaining for years about the kind of offense we're running and what we got.
Well, we don't know what kind of offense he's going to run.
Then let me say, here's what I'll respond to Zolak on, okay? If you want that type of offense, what the hell are you going to get a guy that needs change for? Go get that guy. Then go get, if you want, instead of a guy switching up what he's done for his whole career, and I'll say, well, he can adapt and he'll do that. Then go get the guy that does that in LA and in Detroit. Go get the guy that does it. That was brought up in the system. I think he's fine. I think he's going to be good. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I want to see a modern offense. So if he can adapt to it and call plays with it, which would be new for him, okay, fine. You know? And by the way, I love he had the greatest player of all time, you know. Like it's some sort of footnote and a one-off. Like throw it aside. Like that's not nothing. You had the best football player ever played a game or the best quarterback. I mean, you know, that does matter as to how good he was, especially when you look at how he did with Bradford in St. Louis. Of course, that was many, many years ago now. I'm okay with it, Mark. I'm not unhappy with it. I just want to see a shiny new penny. That's what I want. And by the way, with your bake sale, just really quick, can we put on that list of things you're going to have to sell? One of those cinnamon crumb cake things, because I like those.
Listen, I'll have whatever you want. You want a crumb cake? I'll get you crumb cakes.
I like those. I like Zaplas. I like cannolis. Those are good. Hey. I don't like cannolis when you put the chocolate chips in there, though. Don't put.
No, I don't like those.
Bake sale have you ever been to? You cannolis and Zaplas.
They don't sell cannolis at bake sales. Tell him, Joe.
How about pizzelas? Those are good too.
At a bake sale?
Well, it's I mean, what are you going to have? Cupcakes.
Well, first of all, half of your audience don't even know.
We're going to be in the church basement after church selling all this crap down there.
Oh my God! What are we going to do with him, Joe?
This guy.
Mark, good points. Honestly, good points on all of it. Honestly, especially on the red
I'm busting your beans.
No, you're right. No, but you're right. I mean,
I'm taking a crack at these other media people around here, Chris, who want to just say, well, he's don't got no control. Kraft made him. Listen, he's got control. If he didn't want Josh, he wasn't hiring him. Yeah. That's just my point. You know what I mean?
Good. Well, let's hope so, and let's hope that it's all going to go the way we think it can.
It ain't going anywhere if you don't bring in weapons, Chris. I don't care who you bring in here.
That's right. Good point. So, Catone's Comments was presented by the Pats Nation. Sundays, 8 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Going to have so much more on this, and make sure you look for Mark's Bake Sale coming to a neighborhood near you or a church basement near you. When we come back, we're going to talk Bruins Celtics. B's and C's is next. No flipping.
Sundays are for football. And here in New England, that means it's the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone.
You have the worst wide receiver room in the National Football League.
This is why the Patriots need us in the draft room. Let's see what the Pats Nation thinks about that, Mark.
Starting June 30th, Sundays, 8 to 9 a.m. on 790 The Score.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. All right, Joe, we're behind B's and C's.
Hit it! The Boston Celtics are the world champions, and they have shown the world how great a ball club they really are. Screenshot
Okay, Mark. So let's talk about the Bruins just quickly, okay, briefly. And I like how they've been in the last 10 games, 8 games.
The Bruins?
Some of it. What I don't like is how they can't close a game out. You know, last several games, they've had leads in the third period.
They stink.
Okay. You know what? The Bruins stink. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye.
That's for the show.
Like, what the frig? No. But I like the way they're playing for 2.5 periods. You know? Then all of a sudden, they get to 5 minutes left in the game and they implode. Leadership, to me, seems to be an issue on this team. And I'm talking about player leadership. So let me ask you a question. Brad Marchand gets benched in the overtime the other night. Okay.
Mhm.
So when you go back on this list, he's a captain. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Patrice Bergeron, Chara, Thornton, Allison, Middleton, O'Reilly. Can you, Ray Bork?
Hey, Ray Bork, forget about it.
Can you possibly see any of those guys getting benched?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
This guy's not really a leader, is he?
Well, but I don't mean Allison. I don't really.
No, he's the one. Yeah, that's why you throw him out of the list.
But no, I could not picture any of those guys getting benched in overtime. Absolutely not. No.
I mean,
could you? Can you?
No.
No.
That's why I brought it up. So I just don't like this. There's a fundamental leadership issue on this team, and so when I peel back all this onion, the talent's not good. I get it. There's a lot of things they need to improve. Got it.
Yeah.
But they can be better than they are, and I honestly think that on the ice, there's nobody. It's a Patriots issue too, leadership. There's just nobody there. I mean, you got this guy wearing the C, let alone McAvoy and friggin' Pasternak, who are wearing the A's on their jerseys. They're useless in that capacity. But they're not going to ever go anywhere without a real leader, are they?
No, but let me ask you a question, Chris. Can the coach infuse themselves as that leader if they're good enough?
Not in hockey. In hockey, you need a good captain. You need somebody to be that face. You need somebody to have that integrity, that guy. And he's not showing up as that guy. Never. None of those guys would ever get benched. So just food for thought as to
I agree with that.
Some of the stuff is that we're hearing.
And Chris, the other thing is
on the ice.
There are
because they can't close, and that's a who's there to galvanize them in that moment?
You would think if it's not Marchand, could Pasternak do it? No, nobody's doing it.
Yeah.
But Chris, the thing is this: there were times during the game, especially when they're going to close, if they're in the other team's end. No, I'm sorry. If they're on the defensive end and the team's in their zone,
yeah,
they can't get the puck off the boards. They can't clear, Chris. It's like they're in quicksand. The other team, it's like target practice on the goalie in those situations. They're digging corners, they're getting pucks, they're making passes. A lot of times, the only reason they're not scoring goals is because the other team is fanning on shots. I mean, you're right, but that happens an awful lot, Chris, late in games.
Effort.
Yeah.
So you were putting the C on your jersey, getting the friggin'.
Now the goalie's out today, right? He's not playing today because he supposedly he got pulled in the third period yesterday. Was he got a little injury? I don't know.
Look over Chris's shoulder.
They said he wasn't right. They said something wasn't right with him yesterday. They pulled him.
Well, there's something not right with any of them right now.
Yep. So
you need that leader. Speaking of leadership, talking about the Boston Celtics now. Okay. And so, and we've talked about this, the issues. Okay. What are the issues? There was an article in the Boston Globe, and you and I have talked about this a little bit about what they're doing for Brown, Tatum, and so on. Something adjusting seemed off with Jaylen Brown for much of the season, and particularly recently. There have been games in which he's had simply looked disconnected. He appeared to be going. By the way, when they played against, they won the game on the West Coast. There, Clippers, same kind of thing, and we'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, the point is, looks like he's going through the motions. that kind of thing. It hasn't participated in media sessions until the other night. And he said this.
I mean, yeah, you could say that. I feel like I'm usually the one that set the tone for the team. So sometimes not being out there, we kind of have a sluggish start. I feel like different at different times in my career, that's been me to help negate that. But different year, things get switching up, and things get switched up, and you just gotta be all right with that. I don't really complain or anything. I just try to come out and be the best version of myself.
This is in response to the question of
But Chris,
why.
I don't think he even answered I think his response, it was almost like he wasn't even answering the question I was asked.
Well, because what he's talking about is this. Last year, Jaylen Brown played pretty much the whole first quarter, and Tatum would come out for some rest. And, he was basically the jump starter of the team, that being Brown. Now it seems like they're trying to push for Tatum to jumpstart the team in the first quarter, and it looks like Brown doesn't like it very much.
And he's taking a shot at Missoula in that comment, right?
So the question I have is, one, is Brown a big baby? Okay, when you get on the court, you want to be a tone setter and you want to set the tone, then do it. Do it in the first friggin' 6-7 minutes of the game when you are on the court. Do it. That's the first question. And the next thing is, why? Why are we changing? Why is Tatum coming off, staying on the court for the whole first quarter, not taking his rest when they normally had that? Why?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what Missoula's doing. I don't know. Is he trying to mix it up, Chris, because he thinks that they need some kind of a spark? Does he think this is going to give him a spark? I don't know. I mean, because you and I said something's not right with this team. Does Missoula think this is going to, ignite them? It's not.
Ignite Tatum?
Yeah, maybe.
MVP?
Team MVP. You talk about captain. Is he the captain of this team? I don't know. Who is it?
Should be Brown.
They don't have a designated captain, but who's the captain of the team?
It should be Brown. It should be Brown because Tatum doesn't have that makeup.
Okay.
And now Brown's pissed off. Meanwhile,
listen, we said, Chris, when he signed that extension, that this was probably eventually you're going to have to ditch Brown. We said this, remember?
Well, I didn't think it would be this soon. I mean, especially after winning the championship.
Yeah.
Because now what? We won the ring, so now it's going to be we got to think of ourselves now.
Yeah.
Because this Jaylen Brown, wasn't enough? You won look, you're on the court. How about this? How about stop handling the ball in key situation? How about stop bringing the ball up? Missoula got pissed off at him in that Clippers game. If you noticed at the end, nobody's talking about it, but he yelled at Brown. He keeps bringing the ball up, dribbling it inside, kicking it off his leg again, turning the ball over. He's a turnover machine right now. Meanwhile, Derek White's standing there as how about he's your point guard. You handle the ball. It's frustrating. It's frustrating right now to watch this, Mark.
And then, Chris, even in overtime, right? How about, I think, so the Clippers scored, get a three to make it, I believe, a 3-point game. And then, but Tatum then comes down and jacks up like a 20, 30-foot 3-pointer that bangs off the back of the rim. But luckily, the Celtics get the rebound. And I think they ended up scoring. I think they kicked it out for somebody to get a shot. But he just fired up a three that should have never been shot, Chris.
Right. So, there's definitely an issue on this team, and it's at the tippity top of the talent pool of this team. So stay tuned and stick around for that. We're going to definitely have more on that as the weeks come. But B's and C's was presented by who we presented this, Joe? Is it the Pats Nation?
Law Group.
There you go. Presented by CORSO Law Group, CORSOLawGroup.com. We come back. Going to hear from one of you in the Nation and Heated Hotline. Stick around.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, talk with these expert attorneys. CORSOLawGroup.com.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. Okay, we're going to hear from Joe. We're going to hear from somebody in Heated Hotline, yeah? Let's do it.
Hi, guys. This is Jen from Cranston. So everyone keeps talking about how Mahomes is as good as Brady and the Chiefs are the new Patriots. I'm
He's better.
so sick of hearing about the Chiefs. Mahomes gets every damn call. The NFL should just be ashamed of themselves. I think it's a fraud. Oh, and get Taylor Swift off the damn screen. This is football. Stick to singing. Screw the Chiefs.
That's right. Screw the Chiefs, Jen.
You gotta love Jen from Cranston. Whenever she calls Chris, she tells us how it is.
Oh
right?
yeah, she don't hold back.
She's always fired up when she comes on.
That's a good pick, Joe, to get right back into the heated hotline. All right, let's talk about it. We have a few minutes left in the show. So, Mark, Mahomes, he gets every. Well, first of all, the whole Mahomes Brady thing.
Well, listen, but do the superstars in any sport, Chris, whether it's LeBron, Michael Jordan, Mahomes, I guess when it was Manning, Brady, Montana, don't the superstars get the call or no?
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh,
they earn, I guess, right? They give them the call.
They're going to get the call. But, hey, you know what? Patriots fans, are they bitter? Are we bitter? Are we paranoid? Absolutely. We're absolutely paranoid and bitter. And they three-peat. I swear to God, I'm going to be on the roof. We don't want them doing anything we didn't do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So do I think Mahomes is better than Brady? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. But let me say this. So today, Stephen A. Smith says on the Stephen A. Smith show, well, if Mahomes three-peats, he's the greatest quarterback of all time. Because he's done something no one's ever done. That's what he said today on his show. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said.
Yeah. No chance. No chance. Because if they three-peat and the fact that they won last year didn't have to do with him. It had to do with the way the defense is playing. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. All right. Well. Okay. But the first
and
two
other
Super
teams,
Bowls that
and other
Brady
teams
won,
wetting down their leg.
Defense,
yes, you
right?
can. Yes, you can. Yeah. Look, no, there's no chance that he's better than. I don't even want to hear. I'm so sick of hearing about that. What Tom Brady did. Tom Brady did not need an offensive coordinator, which is why I got an issue about me. A little bit of an issue about McDaniels, but.
He's back on McDaniels.
He didn't need an OC. Peyton Manning didn't need an OC. Period. Patrick Mahomes needs Andy Reid.
Do you think if Reid decided to walk away at the end of the year, you'd see Mahomes?
Done.
Huh?
The Kansas City Chiefs offense is finished.
The only question you need to ask is when it comes time and Mahomes has to go to another team because Casey gets rid of him like they did Brady. Yeah. Could he go to another team, bring him to the Super Bowl, and win?
Not without a collection of real good talent and a good offensive coordinator, a good play caller. That's it. Brady, I'm sorry, I'm not a homer. You know what? I am a homer, and I don't care. Brady didn't need an OC. He handled it on the field himself. Pre-snap reads, Mahomes couldn't wipe his ass.
Listen,
okay?
I'm glad you just said that. Brady didn't need an OC. I'm glad you said that. You know why? Because he didn't need Belichick either. I said it. See? I said it.
Boy, you put me
You're
in my
speechless. You're speechless. Speechless.
So, listen, no, Jen, rest assured, he is not. He's not as good. He's never going to be as good as Brady. I don't care how much he wins because he needs the help around them. Brady elevated. Not that Mahomes doesn't elevate players, but Brady elevated everybody and made it a lot easier for the defense too. So I haven't seen that in the last couple of years with Mahomes. You all right?
Well, Chris, listen. I'm interested to see if they do three-peat, because if they do three-peat, that debate's going to get real loud and real fast. Is he now the greatest of all time at the quarterback position? You and I don't agree. Don't believe he is, but it's going to get interesting. Listen, I've been saying it all year, Chris. The one team that's going to go in there and beat them is the Buffalo Bills. Now they're going to put up a shop. I've been saying it all year. Never deviated from it, Chris. Let's see if they can go in there and do it.
So let's see. And tomorrow, tune into the Pats Nation because we're going to break down all the games coming up on championship weekend. That'll be that same day. And right, screw the Chiefs. Screw Taylor Swift. You're right. Get the hell off the screen. Take her off the screen. Like Jen says, stick to singing. Corso and Catone was presented by the Pats Nation Sundays, 8 a.m. Like I said, tomorrow, we're going to break down those games. We're going to talk more about this McDaniels situation and all of that. But come back next week to this show, noon Eastern. Going to talk Patriots, Celtics, check on Providence College a little bit. See where Mark is on the ledge over there. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. See you next Saturday.
Now find Corso and Catone on AM 790, The Score, iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you podcast. Or subscribe to the YouTube channel and catch the chaos every Saturday at noon.